Have a look at this. For 17 days, 88 nations skied down these beautiful snowy mountains and hills, like this hill for example. It's called the Red Hill. Pretty ironic name for a white snowy mountain, but behind the name is a deep, dark meaning. This hill was home to a predominantly Muslim native people who had existed there since recorded history. Not just the hill or the city, but the entire region. And today, these people have all but vanished because of that hill. You see, these native Muslims who disappeared from this hill tried to come back to their home about 150 years ago, but they were attacked and a battle ensued, which ended in a massacre. From the blood spilled, the hill got the name the Red Hill. Back to the Olympics. Sporting events were planned to be held on this very same hill on the 150th anniversary of the massacre. The Olympic committees made no mention of this. Either known or unknown to these skiers and snowboarders, they were racing down a blood-soaked hill with mass graves of long-forgotten people right underneath them. So who are these people? They're called Circassians, and their story is truly tragic. A deeply traumatic tale of a people who have existed for thousands of years. A people who largely embraced Islam not too long ago, and yet have influenced much of Islamic history. So why is it that Muslims don't know about them? How did they come to embrace Islam in droves? Where are they now? Why can't I find the country of Circassia on a map anymore? And how did the country completely vanish in just a flash? Let's find out. Circassians look unique. Let me just say from the beginning, I had no idea where to start with this story. What I mean is, I don't know which century or millennia to start. It's hard to believe we live in a world where Circassians are seldom mentioned amongst Muslims. Ancient peoples wrote poetic legends about Circassians being tall, fair warriors, and beautiful elegant maidens of the exotic Caucasus Mountains. They were a semi-nomadic people with no states, kings, or cities that called the mountains of Circassia home for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks regarded them as fierce warriors and skilled horsemen. Their warrior culture made them so effective on the battlefield, they were largely independent from any foreign empire for a long period of time. Some empires and dynasties used them as hired swords to fight their battles. Unlike their neighbours, Georgia and Armenia, the Circassians never fully embraced a foreign religion. This was thanks to their solid tribal structure, and isolation helped preserve their unique culture. At the heart of Circassian identity lies firmly in beliefs and customs that have allowed them to survive every peak and trough over thousands of years. Right at the core of these beliefs is honor and purpose. To the Circassian, profound respect for elders, courage, generosity, and unconditional hospitality is what maintains and increases honor and purpose. Those who don't uphold these values are faced with social shunning to the extent of not attending their funeral or wedding. Yeah, it was that much. Despite their strong cultural values, Circassians here and there from different centuries have embraced a succession of faiths. From animism and magic to Judaism and Christianity, Circassians' relationship with religion was often intertwined with geopolitical strategy long before the final conversion to Islam. So how did they find Islam? Circassians had an interesting relationship with Islam and Muslims. Each wave of conversion was sparked by curious power plays and strategic alliances. Like that one time Circassians became rulers of Egypt. I'm not joking. In fact, they were part of the Mamluk Sultanate. The Circassian Mamluks, or the Burji dynasty, were originally purchased slaves who were then manumitted and then became rulers. During their reign, they fought tyrants like Tamerlane and protected the Muslim realm from his tyranny. But while a small Muslim community existed in Circassia from the Middle Ages, widespread embracing of Islam was actually pretty late in the timeline of Dawah. Circassians never embraced Islam en masse until 1717. Travelers and preachers from the Ottoman Empire expedited this conversion process. Sultan Murad IV actively ordered Crimeans to spread Islam among the Circassians. There were two major reasons for the success of Islam's spread in Circassia. Number one, members of the aristocracy converted and therefore trickled down to the rest of the population. And number two, the increasing threat of the invading Russians. It is for reason number two that Christianity collapsed among Circassians. The Russian invasion meant that the Circassians needed to pursue a new, powerful ally to protect themselves. The Ottoman Empire provided a unifying ideological framework for Circassia's resistance against its Russian Orthodox foe. Circassians embracing Islam was a wonderful news, a new addition to the Muslim family. But the Russians saw this as a gross blasphemy. and more of a pretext for their campaign of annihilation. Driven by a messianic self-image as the champion of Eastern Orthodoxy and a virulent Islamophobia. Even though the Circassians embraced Islam in large numbers, they still clung on to their old pagan customs, but that would soon change after this one crucial inflection point in the Circassian story: the Russian way of war. In order for us to tell this part of the story, we must first talk about the neighbor up north, the Russians. As early as the 1500s, the Russians were in a massive hurry to carve up as much land as possible and expand to what seemed like every corner of the globe. Why? For one, the Russians lacked a natural border like mountains, so they wanted a buffer zone between them and their neighbors. Couple this with the economic motives for better land and fur for trade in Siberia and Ukraine, as well as the political and imperial ambition of the Tsarist ideology. The most notable and deadliest of motives is of course the Tsarist ideology. What is that? Tsarist ideology taught that Moscow was the third Rome following the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople in 1453. This means that Moscow thought itself as the new champion and heir to Christian Orthodoxy, which gave the Russians the religious justification needed for expansion. So how does this bring us back to the Circassians embracing Islam? Like we said, the Russians thought themselves as bastions of Christian Orthodoxy, and also like we said before, the Circassians embraced Islam and allied themselves with those turban-wearing Turks was enough for a green light. A green light to wage a long, inhumane war on the Circassians, the Russo-Circassian War. At least that's what they call it. Really, it was a genocide. Russian motives were driven by a combination of imperialism, Russification, and a deep-seated racism and Islamophobia, viewing the Circassians as primitive beings to be forcibly converted to Christianity or exterminated. The perpetrating generals such as Pavel Titianov called the Circassians untrustworthy swine. Another general, Grigory Zas, openly described the Circassians as subhuman filth. Officially, it began in 1763 with the hostile takeover and occupation of Mezdag. But with the arrival of General Alexei Yermolov in 1817, the war mutated into a march of terror, quite literally. You see, the Russians made terror their official playbook strategy as Russian muskets and cannons shredded through Circassian clay houses. Bayonets and sabers tore through the flesh of men, women, and children. Circassian crops were torched into black soot. The methods of massacre were brutal and systematic, including mass killings, mass abuse against women, mass starvation through man-made famine, and impaling. Nothing was off limits. Not children, not even infants. It was the insanity of modern industrial-scale slaughter and mayhem targeting civilian populations with terror. Insanity dubbed the infamous Russian way of war. 2 centuries later, we can see the same imperial doctrine in the Russian military play out on smart screens in Syria. The Circassian genocide is considered the single largest genocide of the 19th century. The final battle took place in 1864, and the Russians had pushed the Circassians to the brink of total annihilation, leaving them with no choice but to leave their homeland. 3 million Circassians were ethnically cleansed from their homeland. 1.5 million were killed outright, men, women, and children. Another 1.5 million fled, many by foot to the Black Sea and into exile. An entire people cut in half, some buried in their own soil, others scattered far from it. This was not numbers on a page. It was villages emptied, families broken, and a nation uprooted. By 1878, only 3% remained and survived in Circassia. Barely. So what happened to the rest? Circassian Trail of Tears. After the Russians declared victory in 1864, they gave the Circassians 2 choices: resettle deeper into Russian territory away from their home mountains or leave for the Ottoman Empire. As expected, most refused to go deep into the Russian bear's den. Instead, they turned to the Black Sea. Like the Trail of Tears displacement of Native Americans in the US, Circassians experienced displacement 20 times the size and were forced entirely out of Circassia. Tens of thousands of families were crammed into seaports waiting for transport, and tens of thousands died due to horrific conditions like little food, no shelter, and horrendous sanitation. The Ottomans sent ships to carry the refugees, but they weren't enough as the ships were overcrowded and unsafe. Ottoman archives documented the arrival of over 1 million immigrants from the Caucasus by 1879. They noted that nearly half of them were found dying on the shores of the Black Sea from disease. Due to the influx of Circassians arriving in the Ottoman Empire, many had to be resettled in different regions and areas under their sultanship and outside as well. Today, the largest reside in Turkey, ranging from 2 to 3 million. Then Jordan, ranging from 100 to 250,000, then Syria, 120,000 to 80,000, and other smaller groups in Palestine, Iraq, Egypt, and Europe. In many of these new homelands, the Circassians established new communities and revitalized their agricultural practices. Like Syria, for instance, they settled in the Golan Heights, where they built over 16 villages and became the largest ethnic minority in the south. In Jordan, they played a foundational role helping to establish the capital city of Amman. But unfortunately, not all has been easy in this journey of assimilation, particularly in Turkey. After the Ottoman Empire fell and Islamic governance along with it, secular nationalism forced Circassians to speak Turkish and banned the use of the Circassian language, a stark contrast to the once tolerant Ottoman Turks who allowed Circassians to open schools and publish newspapers in their native language. To make matters even worse, down south in the Golan Heights of Syria, Circassians endured a second major displacement following the 1967 Six-Day War by Israeli oppressive forces. Just like our Palestinian brethren, the Circassians had their homes bulldozed. No doubt this journey had been deeply traumatic for the Circassians, a memory that sits in the hearts of all who experienced this tragedy, including their children. But this journey is not over yet. The story of the Circassian people is a testament to the profound resilience of a nation in the face of near total destruction. From their ancient roots in the North Caucasus to their prominent role in the Mamluk Sultanate and the Ottoman Empire, the Circassians cultivated a unique identity founded on ancient systems of honor, generosity, and respect for elders. A unique culture that would be tested with the horrors of genocide and extreme persecution. But this story and their legacy are not defined by their struggle, but by their significant contributions to humanity, Islam, and the cultures that they built in their new homes around the world. Since their exodus to the Ottoman Empire, Circassians continue to play pivotal roles in their newfound homes. Their contributions extended to the founding of modern states. They were key in the establishment of the Jordanian capital Amman. In other nations, they served in high military positions, such as in Libya and as volunteer guards for the allies in Syria. The largest Circassian clan in Egypt, the Abbasid family, contributed significantly to the country's cultural, literacy, and political life. So let us Muslims not forget our Circassian brothers and sisters, and let us not forget the lessons of their tragic past. Let us welcome Circassians and other brothers and sisters from different parts of the Muslim family into our homes, just like the Ansar did for the Muhajirun before us. Let us build from their legacy a future that focuses on unity, brotherhood, and justice. A future where Palestinians who are now experiencing what the Circassians experienced before do not lose their homes, faith, and identity. May Allah have mercy on all those who we lost in the Circassian genocide, and may Allah restore justice in the lands of all oppressed Muslims.